Hi, we have the article Snoozers Are in Fact Losers, and I have question number 1, identify the author's argument, main idea, or thesis. In the very first paragraph, the author includes a typical scenario that is relatable to most people in order to grasp their attention and interest in the topic. In the second paragraph, in the very first sentence, the author says, it may seem like you're giving yourself a few extra minutes to collect your thoughts, but what you're actually doing is making the wake-up process more difficult and drawn out. This is the thesis and the main point of the entire article, as he's saying that we should not snooze our alarms, and he develops more claims to add on to this argument later on in the article, but this is his main point. Later in that paragraph, he also says that by snoozing the alarm, you drift back into the beginning of the sleep cycle, which is the worst place to be woken up, and this is evidence. However, there's no source, so we're not sure if this is credible or not. In the next paragraph, he also includes a phenomenon called sleep inertia, which is the period between waking up and being fully awake in which you feel the most groggy. And he also says that the more abruptly and quicker you're woken up, the more severe sleep inertia, meaning the longer it takes for you to wake up and the more difficult, or the longer it takes for you to wake up without feeling groggy. And this period is extended if you snooze the alarm. This seems as like a counterclaim. However, the author later says that he says here that no matter what, our brains take far longer than we might expect to get up to speed, which means that either way, you're going to feel tired, and therefore you should just wake up to your alarm the first time. On this side, as he also talks about sleep inertia, he and shows how it affects our ability to perform simple tasks and make simple decisions. He includes ethos by mentioning Kenneth Wright, a neuroscientist and chronobiology expert, and then also the sleep researchers and colleagues at Harvard Medical School. And those are his main points of evidence and credibility on this side. Overall, his main argument is that, and the thesis is that we should not snooze our alarms, and instead we should wake up to our alarms right away, and if we can, try to wake up more naturally as it is beneficial to the waking up process, being less drawn out, and to our health.
So in the second portion of our text, we can see how the author describes that we have a natural sleeping pattern, and he also goes on to say that we have an internal alarm clock, which is basically our circadian rhythm, and this is defined to be a natural process that regulates sleep, and he differentiates an actual socially mandated wake-up time to one's own natural wake-up time, and he brings up a professor's research that shows social jet lag and what causes it. He describes that social jet lag is described and measured by time window of sleep, and this whole paragraph right here is basically ethos, as it is credible evidence that he uses from a professor. And the third paragraph describes the negative effects of social jet lag. So this is also more ethos. And he once again mentions time windows affecting sleep. And he describes alcohol, cigarette, and caffeine use increase, high-risk behavior in modern society, poor sleep timing stresses out our system, and he brings up chronic diseases like metabolic syndrome and diabetes, as well as cancer, and how those are all heightened risks whenever we have social jet lag. And then in this paragraph right here, he brings up how there is a best time to sleep, and that yes, sleeping too little is bad for our health, but more importantly, our time window of sleep is what affects our health the most. And right here, I just noted that throughout this entire portion, the author emphasizes the importance of natural sleep and also the time windows. So for the second question, I have explained the author's line of reasoning by identifying the claims used to build the argument and the connections between them. So the author's argument is people should strive to wake up and sleep in accordance to natural light in order to achieve a consistent sleeping pattern. And the author uses ideas such as the drawbacks of social jet lag and also an alternative to what we should do and have a sleep that is based on natural light. And he does so by explaining how social jet lag is caused by our poor sleeping time window and our alarm clocks that wake us up when it should really just be natural light that does.
Okay, so in section 3 of our passage, the author provides a solution to the negative effects of sleep inertia and social jet lag through a process called natural light patterns. And the author first provides factual evidence that natural light patterns can actually have the reverse effect of sleep inertia and social jet lag as he conducts an experiment or observation that tests the effectiveness of natural light on the sleep patterns of individuals. And the natural sleep hormone melatonin plays a big role in this and is the author's evidence of how the natural light process can be more effective than waking up to an alarm clock or ineffectively. And the author states his claim after he has his evidence in Logos, and he says that synchronize our sleep more closely with natural light. So if we synchronize our sleep with natural light, then it'll give us more it'll give us like a more beneficial day or beneficial mindset. And it said that if we do not do this, then we'll have displaced melatonin and it may lead to social jet lag or sleep inertia. And after this, he provides some extra information that's like pretty extra about like time zones and like how they're affected by natural light. But we said that this wasn't really relevant to the rest of his article because it doesn't support his claim or anything. It was just giving extra information about natural light and it didn't say anything about like sleep patterns. So after this, the author provides a rhetorical question, and he uses rhetorical questioning to question the possibilities of waking up free from sleep inertia and in an all-natural process. So he questions the audience about how like the natural process could help them and if it can take them to their full potential within their lives. He uses shadows of their full selves, which is a metaphor, unconscious autopilot, sleep, idle brain, and thoughtlessness, all as terms to describe individuals who do not wake up through the natural process and are still in a sleep-like state after they wake up because they wake up too abruptly. After this, he provides he appeals to the authority of Theodore Roethk as he uses a quote that states, I wake to sleep and take my waking slowly. So this basically means that individuals must wake to their own sleep, not wake up to alarms, not wake up to like abrupt eruptions. They must wake up to their own natural state of sleep and take my waking slowly, which means that individuals must like take time to wake up like fully rather than going on with their day right away, because it takes a while for our brains to fully process the idea of waking up. Lastly, the author makes a call to action when he says, when we fully wake up, we are making the most of what our minds have to offer. So it's basically challenging his audience to think about the ways they wake up and maybe switch over to a natural process of waking up to benefit them for the most. So I got question number 3. Evaluate the effectiveness of evidence the author uses to support the claims he makes he made in the argument. So I basically said throughout the whole text, the author provides like relatable examples of things individuals do, and then he provides evidence of why they do this or what happens if they do this, and then he digs deeper into the evidence, and then he shares the effects of what happens because of these examples that he shares. And the first one is that individuals wake up to alarm mostly throughout the world, and evidence that this is bad is that the phenomenon of sleep inertia may come into play. And sleep inertia he digs deeper by saying sleep inertia can affect the brain in negative ways, and the effect of this is that we may make decisions that we should not, or unconscious decisions during this period because of sleep inertia. And that's it, period.